Samsung dominates the Android smartphone market with 4 Chinese brands rounding out the top 5. But for the past month, I've been using an Android phone that challenges Samsung while including legacy features like a microSD card and a 3.5mm audio port. What makes this new Sony's phone so special, and is it worth your consideration? Hello everybody, this is Matthew Miller, otherwise known as Palm Solo, coming at you with another look at a new smartphone, the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. It's been nearly a decade since I've used a Sony phone. I believe it was the Sony Xperia 3 as my daily driver. But for the past month, I've been using the Xperia 1 Mark V as my daily driver with a T-Mobile SIM, and it has performed beautifully. Now, the one thing I like about this phone is it's typically Sony styling. We have a long, narrow phone, right, with a 21:9 aspect ratio, which is a bit unusual for phones of today, but it makes it so easy to hold in your hand, put in your pocket, with that superb width. So let's take a look at some of the hardware that we have on this phone. Up top, you'll find something we rarely see on a phone today, the 3.5mm audio port. So that gives you an awesome, incredible audio experience with wired headphones, which is pretty rare today, but we don't all have Bluetooth headphones. On the bottom, we have a USB-C typical port, but we also have a microSD card slot that includes the SIM card, and the great thing about it is you simply put your fingernail in there and slide that tray out. There's no need for any additional tool or anything, and that microSD card slot supports up to 1 terabyte of external storage. Another thing is there's nothing on the left side of the phone, and then on the right side we've got a volume button, right? It's a single button with up and down, and then the power button there. But the lovely thing is, kind of like my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4, is that power button is also the fingerprint scanner. And when I pick up the phone, my thumb just touches that and I'm off and unlocked. It is superb, it works reliably, I love it. But couldn't be the better placement on an Android phone. We also have a 4K resolution display. Now, this display, I think it's 600 and something PPI, which is way beyond anything that I can see. Sony probably went a little overboard on the 4K display. I don't know if it's necessary, but entertainment is awesome. Another thing you see is there is no hole punch camera. The front-facing camera is found at the top of the phone. And we have Gorilla Glass Victus on the back and Victus 2 on the front. And the back it is glass. You can't really tell. It does have a textured glass on there. And if you scratch on it, you might hear it kind of sounds like an album, right? It's got a little bit of texture on there. 0 fingerprints. Love that. On the edges, on both sides, we see there are lines in the metal sides, and those lines help you grip the phone. Oh yeah, one more thing as I was thinking about that right side, there's actually a camera capture button. So when you hold the phone up, it acts as a real camera where you use your left or your right finger to go ahead and push that camera capture button, just like a point and shoot camera. And that's pretty rare on the phone. That is actually a textured button as well. Now, that's kind of a look at the hardware. It does have a 5,000 milliampere battery too, which is doing great. There are 3 cameras on the back, and talk about those in my Substack review a little bit more. There's a telephoto camera, a wide-angle camera, and a standard main camera. That standard main camera is 52 megapixels. Of course, it's pixel binning down to 12 megapixels on your output, but it's fabulous. The power, though, of this Sony Xperia 1 Mark V is in the software. Now, when you open up the phone, you launch it, it's a pretty stock Android experience. You will not find an app just called Camera. They have 3 apps, Camera Pro, Video Pro, and Cinema Pro for capturing content. Now, for the mass market, it may not be that appealing because there's a lot involved, as you'll see in screenshots in my written Substack review. There's a lot of controls on there. There is a basic mode, and you can just use it as a point and shoot and go with the auto mode, but you will get better results if you use the manual modes that are in there and tweak the settings, just like an alpha camera. There's a ton of power in that camera software. That's where Sony excels. This is a niche market phone, and for those Sony camera and content creators, they will love that. It is also an excellent gaming phone. It has some PlayStation, it has the PlayStation app on there, support for DualShock controllers and such. And in the past, Sony has had issues with overheating and things. I recorded high resolution video, played intensive games, and never had heating. It did get a little bit warm, but nothing about overheating or the problems that we've seen in the past, so I'd say Sony has solved those problems. Also, being a Sony device, it's a great entertainment device, right? I talked about the 3.5 millimeter audio port. There's also dual front-facing speakers on this, and then of course that high-resolution display. Wonderful watching for movies and videos and things like that. And not to mention, it's an Android phone that makes excellent calls on both ends too. So this phone is now available for $1399.99, and it comes with 256 gigabyte internal with that micro SD card slot. That is an expensive phone. It does come in two colors, black and khaki green. This is the khaki green one. You can see it in the pictures more than in the video. It is an expensive phone. It's a niche market, but it takes on all of the great phones that are out there right now. If you are looking for a superb design phone, this may be one. Now, it wasn't clear when they sent this if this was going to be a long-term loaner like many of the other phones that I have, especially with all of those manual exhaustive settings and everything like that. But I'm sad to say it's going back next week. It's a 30-day loaner, and I've been debating actually selling a bunch of old phones to buy this one, and I still might do that because I'm getting more and more familiar with my Sony Alpha camera, and to take that Sony Alpha camera experience to a phone and use those controls and everything is pretty appealing to me. Sony knocked it out of the park with the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. Check out my Substack article for more details, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching, everybody.